Great that you can be here. My name's Jeff Brown, and I've been involved with these kind of programs for many, many years, for over 20 years. The kind of programs I'm talking about are the CFA, the CQF, KIA, PRM, ARPM, MLI, and now the ATC. Which I genuinely love. And I'll tell you why I love it, because I think that this is in a league of its own with regards to any programs to do, any quant programs. And I'm talking about professional qualifications. Okay, I'm not talking about university programs. I'm talking about professional qualifications like the CQF, like the FRM, and so on. It's in a league of its own because it's incredibly applied. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you don't have, quant theory that behind it. You have to with algo trading, but it is very applied. The faculty are brilliant. I'll introduce you to Nick Firoozye in a second. And also you can see some of the testimonials on the website as well. Now, these are recent testimonials. So a lot of these are from the very last cohort, which finished, relatively recently. It's very practical insofar as you do a project as well. And again, I'll leave Nick Firoozye to talk about that during the course of each lecture. There are applied things that you do in order to get to grips with algo trading. So that's my view. Okay, that is my honest view, is that I think that this is in a league of its own. Nick Firoozye is going to be taking you through this presentation. He is an extraordinary character. He's got an amazing background for this qualification. He has been educated to master's level at the University of Utah. He got a PhD in maths, I'm talking about, at NYU. In terms of his experience, he has held very, very senior positions, very senior, like directorial level, managing director level positions at Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, Citadel, Nomura. He is also, he teaches at the moment at UCL. He is, what else is he doing? He's doing so many things. He's got so many different hats on. He's also working at TradeLink Holdings. So he's got a very senior position there. And TradeLink is a global proprietary trading and investment management firm. So he's also incredibly eloquent. And when it comes to teaching this kind of topic area, you need clarity, because it can be complicated things that the faculty need to take you through. I hope you get a really strong flavor of what this course is about and what you will get out of this course on completion. That's really the objective of this information session. And I'm sure Nick will do an amazing job in conveying what you'll get out of this course and how it's delivered. He'll break down the syllabus in a lot of detail. He's very detailed, he's very thorough. And on that note, I will hand you directly over to Nick Firoozye.
Okay, thanks very much, Jeff. Thank you. And I guess, and thanks for the introduction. And so this time I'm flying solo. I'm flying without my colleague, Brian Healy, but I'll have to tell you in some detail about him. And I'll try to convey the enthusiasm we have for the course, because I think that's one of the important things. And as far as I know, I'm not actually on the screen yet. So I'll just wait until we see my face.
You are. I'm not sure what you're looking at, but yes, you are. So.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay, so welcome to the intro section, and I wanted to keep it a little bit lighter this time, not go through quite as much fine levels detail as Jeff is used to, but I did want to talk in about the course itself and give you and convey to you about the Algorithmic Trading Certificate, and this time as well, we're not just talking about the ATC, but also about the new self-paced course, which is quite different. It's much more basic in some sense. It's the fundamentals course. I'll tell you a little bit about both, and but primarily on the ATC because I think it warrants much more description because it's a hybrid course. It's a much more of it's a much bigger investment of time than the fundamentals courses in some sense. So Ed, if we could bring up the presentation, there we go. So and oh yeah, actually I even have a way of leafing through it. So this is the I've put together a presentation, and if everything is good, there aren't any typos in it and so on, but it just shows the level of my LaTeX skills here. So we're going to cover both the ATC Practitioner's Guide, which is due to launch in September, and then the fundamentals of algo trading, which anyone can take right now. It's a much smaller course in some sense, but I think each has a very good place. So let me tell you about what the courses are, or what initially what the ATC is, and then later on we'll talk about the fundamentals, why one would take them, and who we are. So first of all, the ATC is this intensive hybrid course. It's meant to equip you with skills and insights for an overall framework for building, testing, and deploying algorithmic trading strategies. So it's not just meant to tell you about a single one, and it's not just meant to. It's supposed to tell you about how things work, and in such a way that how things work and how you can fit them together in such a way that you can build not just one but many strategies. So this is supposed to provide a strong foundation of the tools and techniques in algo trading, the ones that are commonly practiced, from basic programming to advanced strategies. So we go through, as I say, the entire pipeline, from data to features or factors, to forecasts, to portfolio allocation or sizing your strategies, to risk management and performance management and things of that nature. So there's quite a lot of detail, but I'll go through it in a little bit in some. There's quite a lot of material, but I'll go through it not in as tremendous amount of detail today. So let me tell you first of all, what are the goals? The goals is to build a strong foundation into the industry standard tools and techniques. It's to master the entire trading workflow from data all the way to execution, and to know, when there's an appropriate deep dive into any of them, to come to us because we have experience with pretty much every aspect of this. It's to gain practical hands-on experience through a course project, and learn to build efficient, scalable, and robust trading models. So one thing about our course that sets us apart, and I know probably if you're looking at this, you've seen other algo trading courses online, and there are lots and lots of them at many different levels. But one of the things about us is we focus on framework and methodology. We're quite different, and we cover algo trading as an entire industry. So there's many different approaches to algo trading, and we want to give some insight into the different approaches and why one would take them, and what ties them together. So this means we don't just focus on a single strategy, but we cover how strategies work in general and how they fit together. Now there are lots of other benefits, and I talked to Brian because unfortunately Brian couldn't be with us, my Irish partner in crime. And he wanted me to point out some of the other benefits of our course, which sets us apart. So of course we have weekly live access. That one I could have told you myself. And you have a Q&A with us. So every week we have we have at least 2 hours of pre-recorded material, and then we have sort of so-called office hours where Brian and I discuss 1 hour. Previously, it's been 1 hour in Asia time, Asia and Europe time, and 1 hour in America and Europe time, where we have weekly meetings and we discuss the material and discuss any other problems or concerns or considerations that one would have. And in that, one of the things that sort of sets us apart is the quality of the cohorts. We've had very, very strong cohorts of people, a big range of skill sets, but some I'd say more senior than me, and we've all benefited from our interactions. We've had professors of finance. We've had people just starting out their careers and wanting to trade PA, but the quality of cohorts and the level of interest is really tremendous. Now, we also give lifetime access to a repo. The repo is growing and continues to grow. A wiki, which we've just started, but we have so much material that we've just now started to put into the wiki in much more detail, and then an online forum, because we want to continue to foster this community around this. We also have, of course, extensive background readings and references. Everything that we do has some sort of background reading, has some sort of reference in case you want to go deeper. And we also covered readings and references for areas that we don't cover because we don't have time to cover absolutely everything. People come to us and say, hey, do you know about crypto causality? And we can find a reference on it. We've found lots and lots of relevant things for people in different areas, and we discuss it. Preferably the most practical areas. One of the other things about the course that Brian wanted to point out is that pretty much every course out there focuses just on U.S. equities. And our focus is not just U.S. equities. I come from a fixed income background. Brian comes from an FX background. He's done a lot of exotics. And we both done a lot of vol. And I currently work in futures. So there's equities, futures, there's every different asset class is considered. Okay, maybe not so much EM, but I do know people who've done quant EM before. So, okay, this is just the origin story. I wanted to tell you that I've been teaching versions of this class to master students for some time, and Brian's been teaching stats and machine learning at UCL for some time. So my course has been going on. My master's course in algo trading started as a PhD level course, and then just continued from there. I have about 110, 120 students. We try to limit it every year. This course is like that. It builds on that, but it tries to be more hands-on. And so it expects more of the students in some sense, because we want people to really understand how to put things together. And to say, unlike other courses, I can't interact with 110 students that easily, but this course we have a lot more direct interaction with the cohort. Now, who is the ATC for? The ATC is it can be for discretionary traders and risk managers. People want to understand the market, the mechanics of the market, and develop tools to devise and manage new and improve strategies, and learn about the pros and cons of doing it algorithmically, or making algorithmic various different aspects of their trading process. It's for people with algorithmic trading backgrounds, or for quants who've done quant work before, but not necessarily in the algo side. So learning the differentiation between the different types of algorithmic trading, the different types of quantitative approaches to finance. Both Brian and I are mathematicians, so we both know about pricing and hedging exotic derivatives. But algorithmic trading is much more statistics and much more machine learning and forecasting and anything you can bring out there to actually to gain an edge. It's for graduates, for students, and for data scientists, people who have a little bit of familiarity and know they really want to get into this area, or know that they really want to deep dive and find out more. It's also for academics. We've had academics who've come and gotten involved and decided they really wanted to get into doing more research in this area because it's a very rich area of research. Now, just to differentiate, because I'm supposed to talk about both the ATC and the fundamentals course, so I want to know what are primarily the differences. I haven't really talked about fundamentals, but I want to let you know there's a slightly different audience between them. So in terms of the purpose, who are they for? Is it the ATC? Because it's a 12-week course, and it's a 12-week course where you have at least an hour of office time and 2 hours of viewing, and not everyone keeps up with it, but the people get the most out of it are the people who really do interact and get involved and do their final project And so it's those who've already decided to get into this field. And they generally know a little bit about this field and industry, but they know they want to take this deep dive. The fundamentals, on the other hand, is those who may or may not be in the industry and are at this decision point and want to get to an understanding of what that kind of undertaking would involve. So they're not quite ready to put in 12 weeks of solid work and oops sorry get the and get it done. And that's really an important distinction because so we created the ATC, but there are a lot of people who just don't know about algo trading enough to want to be able to commit that much time. So that's what the fundamentals is for. The audience, in terms of the audience, well, the ATC, I'm saying just from experience. Now, not everyone has been in the industry, but a lot of people have, and some people have been slightly outside. There have been graduate students, but graduate students studying quant finance. There have been professors. There have been relatively senior professionals in it. There are people with 5 years experience, 10 years. There's a pretty big range, but it tends to be slightly more experienced people. When it comes to the fundamentals, the range is expected to be different because the range of qualifications is someone with at least an undergraduate education to maybe a recent quant postgraduate. So someone who's done a quant finance degree. And basically, this understanding is that a lot of people who study quant finance or want to get into quant finance don't really know about algo trading and may not even learn about it in the quant finance programs because quant finance programs are geared up to teach you about pricing and hedging derivatives or teaching risk management. They're not necessarily about how to forecast the next tick of a certain futures contract or how much should you invest based on that. So it's quite different in terms of the approach. I'd say that when it comes to the algorithmic trading course, the master's course that I teach at UCL is one of the few out there. There are a couple others, a smattering of them, but I think ours is one of the few that really pushes this boundary and tries to expose this entire industry out there, which is a huge industry. The biggest money-making firms in the finance world are algo trading. They're no longer investment banks. They're no longer discretionary hedge funds. They're algo trading shops. So it's just an area that's really big to get open, or big to get into. Okay, now just tell you about myself and Brian. So I'm a mathematician. I had at least 20 years of experience in finance, doing a range of things, mostly in quant and RV, but also doing structuring, trading fixed income, and trading actually distressed debt, doing derivatives, a lot of derivatives work, and systematic trading. I've worked at a range of firms, from Lehman a long time ago, Goldman, Deutsche, Citadel, others, and currently doing mid-frequency trading at a U.S. prop shop. I'm an honorary professor at UCL. I used to be a professor before I got into finance at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So I've got my academic background. I've done finance for many years, and I'm getting back into a combination of the two of them. Mostly because I really love teaching. I think it's a very rewarding thing to do, and there's a lot of experience that comes to bear. Now, Brian has actually got a relatively similar background to me. He has 20. He's Brian Healy. He's my Irish colleague. He's had over 20 years experience as a quant, a trader, a researcher. He's been in a range of investment banks, primarily fixed income and FX. We met at Deutsche Bank a long time ago when I first came to London. He's worked at Citi and Barclays, and then he does. He has a successful consultancy business. He works with a lot of financial firms working on quant consultancy for them. Meanwhile, he also teaches at UCL. He's in a different department from me, but he's in UCL teaching quant finance and teaching machine learning. And he's been teaching at UC Davis and at Stanford. He's also been at NYU before. He has a really extensive teaching background. I would say he's an absolutely excellent teacher. And so it's a great pleasure that the two of us teach together because we keep the banter going. I think it's a really important thing. So let's go through a little bit of the ATC syllabus. And if you guys have questions, I can stop at a point, any point in time, because and we can save some for the end. I expect to have quite a few, but I'm not going to cover it in tremendous detail because we've gone through in too much detail in the past. But it's a 12-week course. And as I see, you see here, we cover a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sure you can see it on the WBS website, where we do this, and I'll go through in a little bit more detail than this. So in the first week, we cover this part is quite different from the others. It's to cover the industry. What are the different approaches to algo trading in the industry? How big is the industry, from the high frequency traders to the mid frequency? Stats are is high frequency and market makers, for instance. The mid frequency market automatic trading, or stats arb, to the low frequency or factor based trading, for instance. So there's a big range. There's a lot of money being managed in all these different places. Some of them are hedge funds. Some of them are prop shops. Sometimes it's in banks doing market making in a bank itself. So that's a little bit different because we talk about the different styles and approaches in that first week. The second week and third week, it's a little bit more standard. It's data and features. How do you handle data? How do you deal with cleaning data? How do you create features and signals and so on? And then Brian managed to come to bear with some sort of a background of statistics and time series. What's the kind of statistics and time series you need to know? For its ARMA and ARIMA models for forecasting from a linear perspective. And the thing that you find surprising is a tremendous amount of what we do is linear. It's regressions. But you have to know about your time series regressions. You have to know how they work. And even when it's not linear, sometimes it doesn't veer that far. Some of the deepest, darkest machine learning or AI out there oftentimes doesn't come to bear. We can talk about that because we will, because there's some places where it will never, or will not for some time, like in an investment bank. You have model verification teams in risk management whose whole job is to shut down anything they don't understand, and unfortunately, that means most of the best machine learning out there doesn't get done. But anyway, so we go through through the data and features, the statistics and time series. The next 3 weeks, okay, the next one is machine learning, supervised and unsupervised, classification, regression, deep learning, those sorts of things in some detail. You have to know it. You have to know when it comes to bear and what to look for coming up with new and exciting ideas out there. Then we do a deep dive on trend following. So, because it's one of the most important types of algos out there, and what are its properties? Why do people trade it? Why is it that there's so much money just in trend following funds, in CTAs? That they commodities trading advisors is what they're technically called. They're a type of hedge fund, but they're the trend followers out there. And then we talk about carry and volatility. And now each of these is a strategy in and of itself. But they also can be combined. So in terms of the strategy in and of itself, carry and volatility, carry is a really important driver of things, and it can be a strategy. And trading vol, most of the short vol strategies, they call it vol scalping. Okay, I know that, for retail, it's got a lot of disrepute because people can go bankrupt very easily. But it is actually an important source of returns if it's scaled properly. And so it's a type of supercharged carry strategy. And so we cover those sorts of strategies. Then we cover mean reversion, pairs trading, RV trading, co-integration, pretty much all stats arb is based on it. Pretty much all mid-frequency trading is based on it. I know teams of traders, that's all they do is they look for mean reverting spreads. But then we have to know when to stop trading it because you can make a lot of money on it, but it breaks. Then finally, in week 8, we start putting it together because each of those, it can be a strategy, but they can also be a set of features that gives you better forecasts. You can have something that mean reverts to a trend. So we talk about futures, factors, and forecasts. How do people create more factors to trade, or how do they create features to trade and combine them together into forecasts? Then we move on to slightly more detail: order execution and market making. What are the various different approaches to optimizing this? There's a lot to be covered in here, or a lot can be covered. We can't go in such great detail, but we talk about microstructure, order book dynamics, how one should really approach these kind of areas, and how one has done in the past. And we give lots of references for those who are interested in how you can find what are the good ways of learning more about doing order execution and market making. Then in weeks 10 through 12, we put it all together. You've got strategies, you've got risk, and how do you do allocation? How do you do how do you scale your strategies? How do you allocate between different strategies? How do you allocate between different asset classes? And how do you take transaction costs into account? We give you a framework for that. Some of what is typically known, what people continue to do research and innovation in. We give that in some detail. Then backtesting and performance. How do you build a backtester? How does it work? How do you use and how do you analyze performance? Lots of different performance metrics out there. And so how do you pick and choose, or do you? Because none of them really does a great job. Finally, the final week we do risk management. Because how do you manage the risk of your portfolio in the end? So that's it in a sort of a pretty quick nutshell. The different 12 weeks. As I say, in each of the weeks we have at least 2 hours of pre-recorded material, and then we have 2 1-hour sessions of office hours. You're welcome to attend one or both. Preferably you do attend. There are people who sometimes don't, but we have an online forum. We try to be attentive to what people are interested in. So we give them as much material as they want to take away. Okay. Now, what about the prerequisites? What's one's expected to know in order to take the ATC? So typically for the ATC, we expect intermediate or experienced programmer, preferably with working knowledge of Python. Brian and I both are Python programmers. We're both C++ programmers. I like C++ a lot. I can't talk about it in class, but we sort of expect a certain level of experience. Some familiarity with statistics or econometrics or machine learning, just so you know a little bit about OLS, so you're not completely confused by that. We do cover the background, we have a primer in that effectively, but some knowledge about that is quite helpful. I'd say that knowing what my daughter's A levels for their maths was, it's good enough. But if you have a degree in a STEM subject, you probably would know about this kind of stuff. Now, basic finance and familiarity with economics. Brian and I would both say this is probably the least important. I don't have any formal economics background. I sat in on a serious advanced level course when I was a professor, but everything I've learned was on the street. We can guide you on that, and the various and quite a lot of economics out there that's interesting. Some that's relevant. I'd say a whole lot of it is not. A plus is some familiarity with SDEs and differential equations, but again, that's not that necessary because we're doing more statistics than stochastic processing. So that's the difference between traditional quant finance and the algo trading. The quant finance tends to focus on SDEs and PDEs, whereas we tend to focus more on forecasting. Now, in terms of the final assessment, this is really an important part of the ATC, and a lot of it is gearing up for this, is that we expect a written assessment at the end, which is a PDF and a Python notebook, some combination of the two, describing a strategy. It doesn't have to be the best strategy out there, but hopefully it's one that's insightful, one that you've put some effort into, you've discovered and thought through, where you understand the behavior, the rationale for it, its implementation, its performance, and where there's room for improvement. Because the fact is, every strategy has room for improvement. Every strategy has limitations, but we expect you to be able to make a presentation around it effectively. It's not you're not a live presentation, but everyone's going to have to pitch a strategy to a boss, to a future employer, to someone or another, and you must be prepared for that. And this is actually some of this came from my master's course, that we had various things like that. We've scaled back, unfortunately, because a lot of work to for the students and for us. But some of the students actually they thought their the paper they got out of it was so good. They this is in the master's course. They presented it to their future employers. Now, for us, this is up to you because a lot of people are experienced, but it's a very good room for growth, and it's really a sort of a good discipline to be able to know that you can do that kind of thing. So, so that's basically the ATC in a nutshell. Now I'll just move on sort of quickly to the fundamentals course, because the fundamentals course is quite different and it's geared quite differently. And I'll just give you a little bit of the background on that. And the fundamentals course is what one can get started on right away. Anyone who signs up for the ATC gets the fundamentals for free. It's just part of the ATC. As to whether you want to spend all the time to take it, it's a good question. There are some aspects of it which may enhance your knowledge of the ATC, but there's going to be a little bit of overlap. It's just that the fundamentals is done at a level where we don't give such great detail of an explanation. We give an overview, basically. You're supposed to get an overview of algorithmic trading industry. So again, there's a little bit of overlap, including the approaches, opportunities, and required skills. So this is for people, to some extent, for people with potentially with a quant background who want to know, is this an area they want to get into? And if so, what kind of background should they know? If they want to become a trader, if they want to become a developer in a quant trading shop, if they want to work in e-trading in a bank, if they want to work in a what's called a macro or a trend follower, what sort of things are they supposed to know? And basically, and from that to understand the as well the overall framework for developing effective trading strategies. So I give an example and a practical case study of how to develop and to go with a quant trading case study. There's a repo that goes with it. There's code in there. I'm going to continue to add to it as time goes on, especially as I get comments. But it's stuff I've used in teaching before, but it's robust enough that it's a good way to build. There was a lot that I can't cover in such great detail in the limited time that the fundamentals exactly has. It's not meant to be in as nearly as much detail, but it's meant to be for people who really want to decide whether they want to move in this direction. And so there are four modules spread over. Sorry, there are 8 modules spread over 4 weeks effectively. One is this industry overview. The second one is the opportunities, the roles, and the skill sets required for the different roles. Then we sort of break out in terms of the framework. What's the workflow in terms of the framework, from processing, feature extraction, alpha sources, to forecasting. Again, it's really broad overview. I don't have time to go through as much detail about why every type of method works or how you can go into it's a set of methods that does work. And then we work on allocation performance, how you do allocation performance for trading a single strategy. The example is in crypto, and where I give code structure, I do some data acquisition, and create some features for a single asset. I say that my features are not the absolute best at this point in time. I will improve them, but it's really easy to take this framework and to build on it. And I've had students who've done that. I've had students at hedge funds who have taken frameworks I've given them and just kept on building and building, and breaking their APIs because they got throttled because they wanted to download more and more data using the tools I gave them. Okay, so the case study is for 2 modules, and we go in some detail about discussing how to look at the performance of it. Finally, recap. Okay, So I've talked about two very different courses. The ATC, which I believe still has a discount, and I think the discount maybe runs out today. I can't recall. Jeff knows more about that. And then the fundamentals course. So basically, wrapping up, we've got the algo trading is a large and growing part of the financial markets. The algo trading shops are the ones that are making the most money out there, and surprisingly, some of them aren't even publicly traded. And they continue to hire. They continue to hire people with a diverse set of backgrounds, but a lot of and a lot of people aren't necessarily there. There's a the master's programs aren't necessarily training people for this area. So people pick it up on the way, but we give you everything that you need in order to pick it up. So it's an area of study. It's new. There's very few university courses. I know of a few. We're in the process of writing a textbook. We're hoping to launch more university courses in this area, and I think it's a really exciting area. So in terms of takeaways, we've got the ATC, a practitioner's guide. It's aimed to give you the practical skills for getting started in this area. And then we have the fundamentals, a pre-recorded course is meant to acquaint you seriously and give you what it takes to get a knowledge of what it takes to get involved in this industry. So I leave the floor open for questions, and this is my first time using Vimeo. So
Thanks very much, Nick. That was great. And yeah, I think now is the time for a thorough Q&A session to fill in those knowledge gaps about this program. And incidentally, questions will also pop up in the coming hours and days and weeks and so on. So if any do pop up, then feel free to send me an email or give me a call. You should all have my email address and mobile number because of the email that I sent to you all for this event. Anybody who doesn't, then it's Jeff, GEOFF, at wbstraining.com. And my contact number is a French number, so you can reach me on WhatsApp to avoid the cost of the call to France. And it's +33 6750 69328. So if any of you have questions that pop up in the coming days, let me know. If any of you have any questions now, Ed, can you keep us?
You got a couple of questions already. So if you've got the chat open, then you should see those.
Okay.
We got a lot of people asking about if we can send them the PDF of the syllabus.
sure, why not?
So obviously, I've given them a link to the website, and they've said that apparently you've been sending syllabuses in the email. But if you want to elaborate on that,
Can I ask you where the chat is?
actually, Jeff is going to know that better than I am because I've got a different view than you have.
So it's on Vimeo.
Yeah.
And if you click on where the timer is, it's to the left of the timer.
Oh, where the timer? Oh, I see. Oh, there it is. Yes. Oh, there's there's a number of questions. Okay. Let's see if I can make them.
We can start with Rishabh Das.
Yeah. Looking for STE roles. So
that's just his.
I see. That's
information.
Okay.
So he's just networking. That's fine. I think the first one that is substantive was from John Thomas, who's asking, is there a good set of recommended references you would suggest for each of these modules in order to get a sense of rigor that captures the scope?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, I'm going to say there's no single good textbook on it, which is part of the reason why we're in the process of writing one. Let's see. Just trying to think about. I mean, there's a bunch of there's a bunch of references that we will refer to, but I mean, like, there's this book. I'm going to tell you, I hate this book. So you've caught me off guard, but there's a book called Active Portfolio Management, and I don't know if you can see it right now. One second. there you go. Active portfolio management. And some people call it a Bible. I'd say it's devilish. So it's by Grenold and Kahn, and that one talks actually about. It does talk about. Was it? It talks about the process of. It's about portfolio allocation, and so that's actually it's. I don't really like the terminology they use, but there's some people really swear by it. What are other books? Things I use on a regular basis. Um, um, let's see. This is something we can talk about. Um, uh, something actually. Maybe you can send me an email, and what I do is I might get together a couple of examples because I'm caught off guard here with that. But I think it's an excellent question, and I've got. I mean, I've got. You see, I've got like. Um, um, Maybe 100 books next to me right now, not necessarily well organized. There's a whole bunch of them that I'd use and I recommend. And I'll tell you what actually I have here. There's something that I've made freely available online. It is, and let me just find um, it's a pretty opinionated source, and it's in a Google sheet, and it was one that it's a set of readings. Let me find it. Um, Let me find docs.google.com. Okay. Actually, as I'm finding, I don't know, I can't read the next question, but perhaps, Jeff, if you could read it to me, or Ed, if you could read it to me, I can try to answer.
Yeah, sure. So it's what does differentiate the ATC from the QDC program? Hello, Hernan. Good to see you here.
Which
Yeah,
one's
so I
QDC?
think they're very different actually, but they go very well hand in hand, and we have had people doing both because the QDC, the Quantitative Developer Certificate, is a programming, a coding course. It's a very, very good one. It's a 6-month coding course on C++, Python, QDB, and it's taught by Quant of the Year Paul Billiken, with a couple of other faculty members, Saeed Armin, who is brilliant. And it is a very, very, again, very practical course. This is what WBS training does. They do very, very applied courses. For coding, this is an incredible program. And the reason why it goes hand in hand with the ATC is because it will help directly with regards to algo trading. The content of algo trading, in a way, the QDC and the ATC, if you do the ATC before the QDC, it'll help you with the coding skills. If you do the QDC before the ATC, it'll help you with the algo trading skills. So they're very different courses in answer to your question, but they do kind of go hand in hand.
Um,
Yeah, go on. Go on.
so I just want to make sure I put in a link to a Google Doc, and if you're actually in it right now, I
Yeah,
don't see
I
any.
pasted that over to the LinkedIn so they can see it.
Okay. So that one, it has a bunch of books. It's kind of more like this is a quant library. Not necessarily that you need to read every one of these, although I own every one of these. I'm at this stage. I'm used to downloading books on my phone and my computer, and I have 3,000 books on my phone. But some of these I think are I list them in terms of the relevance to the course. I see now there's some anonymous people in here. Okay, so I list them in terms of relevance to the course, and here, why don't I just share this? Maybe I can share my screen. Let's see.
And
Albert,
also, just to answer, John, just to answer your question, and probably many others who are thinking about the cost of the program and the deadline, which is actually tomorrow, the early bird deadline. So the program costs $3,950. There is a 20% early bird discount, which is available until tomorrow. For those of you who want an extension to tomorrow's date, send me an email, because I need to speak to the commercial department to find out whether an extension is available. And hopefully what I can do is to try to twist the commercial director's arm is say, look, how about those who attended this information session, we extend the deadline for those who do want to enroll, but who are not necessarily able to this week. So just send me an email, okay? And I'll do what I can to help you. Nick, do you want to get back to your books?
Okay, so yeah, here's a list of books, and these are a bunch of books I've used over the years. Of course, there's many more that I own that aren't necessarily relevant, but I want to. These are, like, okay. So for instance, I like Ernie Chan's book, but I could never teach from it. He has a couple of them. Let's see, there's a couple Ernie Chan books out there. I could never teach from them because they were a little too basic in some sense, but I know he's a good guy, and I know that he's written some good books, so I recommend them. Here's like a time series econometrics book by John Cochran. It's available online. It's basically lecture notes he's given. There's some of these are whatever I can find for free. Of course, there's plenty more you can find for free now, but I only give legit links in here. And I give some on online learning, some on there's quite a number of good books out there. And I say some of these we touch on, some of these we don't have time to, and some I give as just a great reference book that everyone should know to go to when you have a problem you want to deal with. Where can I find a solution? This is where. So I think a lot of this is, and so if you look at it, okay, maybe it looks daunting right now. I don't think of it that way, but because I also try to list over here relevance to the course. These are highly relevant to the course, and then it gets less relevant. And I even put in here at the very bottom, I put in here Liar's Poker and the Fund. Liar's Poker because everyone should read it. Everyone who's involved in finance needs to read this book. And then some of these other things which are not necessarily that relevant, but are just kind of interesting nonetheless. So I put them.
I think what would be a good idea, Nick, is if you email me. I mean, we won't send this whole list out because not everybody's going to be able to go through the whole book. But if you email me, let's say the top 3 that you think are worthwhile, have a think about that. Send me an email, and then I'll send everybody an email of what books to read prior to enrolling onto the course. I do say prior because I think during the course itself, it's worth focusing on the lectures. It really is, because they're very practical. So try not to get too distracted by the books. But before the course, we'll send you some books for that.
Okay. So lots more questions. Sorry, there's lots more questions.
Yeah, there are. So the other thing, what's the start date of the ATC? Monday, 29th of September. Monday, 29th of September. And anybody who does want to register, send me an email, okay? And then I'll provide you with the discount code in order to so that you get your discount.
Well, thanks for John for your comments on the list. Let's see. Is this pure Python? Yes. So we do only pure Python. I mean, if you wanted to submit things in another language, by all means. I'm more aware of Python, MATLAB, R, C, and C++. I think Brian knows Java. I actually now I know Scheme and Lisp because that's what I use sometimes at work. But yeah, so the coding. We only expect people to know Python. It's more that by the end of the course, the focus will be on completing the final project, which has a coding element to it. And so if you're just starting coding, it's maybe a little bit difficult. But if you're an intermediate level coder, like if you've seen Eve what's his surname? Hilpresh. If you've seen Eve's book on Python for quantitative finance or Python for finance, that book is actually pretty intermediate. It's not a very sophisticated book. If you know that, definitely enough pandas out there to get the job done.
I think I would say on that point, as Jeff was saying earlier, if you actually want to be learning the coding that you need for doing this kind of thing, that's what our QDC course is for. That'll run you through Python for this kind of thing, C++ for this kind of thing, KDB and Q for this kind of thing, and then how the hardware works for it and all that kind of thing. But it's not going to give you all the different strategies that you need and all the different, it doesn't take you in depth into the industry the way that this course does. So it's really, which part of it do you want? And obviously, if you want both parts of it, then we can provide that too.
So the when it comes to so KDB and Q, I would avoid as much as possible. Although I have one of my PhD students loves KDB. He's programming in Python now, but he loves KDB. This is horrible. And the fact it's proprietary.
It scares me to look at it, but yeah.
The fact that it's proprietary to me, that they can change it at a whim also bothers me very much. But I have friends, for instance, at high frequency trading shops that wouldn't touch it. They use C. They use not just C++. They use C, and sometimes they don't even use Rust. That's what they want to use.
So from Reginald Sheriketi, any discount to WBS alumni for QDC? Yes, there is. So just send me an email because I need to remind myself of what that discount is. But it is significant. Okay. So just send me an email asking that question, and I'll let you know what it is.
So SDE is okay. Relevant for HFT. That was a question Raphael has, and I was going to say. It is to some extent, but you might overstate it because you can go through. Here's a book. I'm going to have it. The book, Algorithmic and High Frequency Trading. This is actually a pretty good book, but it's all about high frequency, but it's basically all about stochastic control. Now, stochastic control is great for your math models, but when it comes to the actual applications, lots of times people aren't solving stochastic control problems. They have rules that they've come up with. They've actually done, these guys don't talk about the probability of a fill or the time until fill based on where you place it in the order book. So in some sense, the SDE is stochastic differential equations. They're of interest, and I think if they're of interest as sort of a toy model, but as to whether they're absolutely used in the industry, we do use them in some of our HFT applications, but I'd say that in reality, most people are primarily not using these statistical methods.
There's one just above that, which is the knowledge in this course. Is it purely for traders? This is from Yang Peng.
Well, so some of the people who get involved in this, some of our students have moved on. They've moved into more quant finance roles. They moved into more front, trading desk roles, not necessarily trading themselves. They've become so. Some of the material is good for developers. Some of it is good for people who are around. In the quant finance industry, there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily traders. They're not necessarily taking risks themselves, but you have to know about what a risk management system looks like. You have to know what's the difference between a Sharpe ratio and a Kalmar, and those are sort of things that we try to give you familiarity in. Let's see. Open source. So it can Rust enter into this game along with Python. So can Rust developers? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, Rust is so Python is okay. Python is very, very popular, but Python is very, very slow, and so absolutely Rust can come in. I'd say some people aren't using Rust; they're using C instead, because if you're in high frequency trading, you're not using Python. If you're in mid frequency, sometimes you can. I know people trade Python at where they're trading every 3 minutes. But if you're trading every millisecond, you're not using Python. You're using Rust or C. or maybe C++. But there's sort of issue with that. Let's see. Okay. The difference between the ATC self-paced and this one. So the ATC self-paced, you get started right away. It has a pre-recorded sessions. It doesn't actually have the live session. So it's possible to listen to all the lectures, and I believe it's also possible to submit a submit your final work, and we'll grade that and talk about it with you. And then you should have access to the repos and the forums and things like that, but it doesn't involve the class time. I think the class time is actually really useful because a lot of people get stuff out of it, and you see that's where you interact with your cohort. But of course, the self-paced course is a little bit more economical. It's you can get through in your own way. You don't have to hold to the same schedule. So that's really the difference.
The question above, Nick, that John Thomas is asking, is there any module where you look at algo trading gone wrong or done bad forensically?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And I'm sure we can find some. But we don't really we do focus on some of the downsides of certain strategies, and also on how even good strategies, if you scale them wrongly, can be terrible. You can go out of business, like a mean reverting strategy. Oftentimes, mean reverting strategies suffer really severe drawdowns that are very, very short. So we talk about that. Like, well, that's great. You still make money. You still have a nice positive Sharpe ratio. You even have a positive skewness. So that means it still should be part of your portfolio. It's just you shouldn't bet the farm on it. How much do you see AI, ML? So AI and ML, I think, are very, very important. I'm in love with machine learning and AI, and that's what I do most of my most of my academic research in. It's taking time. Some places they're using quite a lot of it. Other places it's not. It's slow, and one way or another, you have the AI that's at scale that's used at suppose it's used at Netflix, just doing recommender systems. Well, if you make a mistake in recommender system, yeah, you lose some money. You don't get people watching the right movies, or you recommend the wrong thing to them, but you don't go out of business. So the guardrails that are necessary for AI and ML in algo trading are much, much tighter. As a consequence, people tend to use it's if you use a neural net, there are fewer layers. It's not so deep. If it's machine learning, of course, is kernel methods. Those are making great inroads because they're a form of nonlinearity, but they're much better, they're much easier to control. So there is an impact. It's really important to get to know and to be aware of the changes as they take place. It's still relatively limited. I'd say new days at this point in time.
Okay, so I think we've come to the end of the questions. Any more questions from anybody?
One's just slipped in under the wire. This is a final question. As a student with limited money to attend paid courses, can you recommend some free resources for those who cannot afford this course?
Ooh. So I'll let you know. First of all, the fundamentals course is very, very reasonable. It's priced at a very reasonable level, so you should take a look at that. And that one is meant to give an overview and some access to some of the material. It's really meant to be a starter. The free resources. Take a look at the set of books out there. There's there's a lot more work that's necessary to guide yourself when it comes to what the next steps are. But I'd say, if you look at a free syllabus that's available online, you try to learn what's necessary in each bit of the syllabus. There's a lot of work that's involved in that, but once you've done it, you're in good stead.
The fundamentals course is £149. Okay, so that in terms of affordability, if you're not able to afford the algo trading certificate, then the fundamentals is £149 as a standalone course.
Actually, Jeff, I think it's $149.
So apologies, dollars. Yep,
Yeah.
you're right.
So it gets more affordable by the day.
That's true.
So as I said, both Brian and I have sort of a range of product knowledge, and we talk about that. There are people who want to look into FX in some detail. People want to trade their own portfolios. They're interested in U.S. equities. Is any link to yes, the ATC. There's an ATC self-paced version. So basically, there's three courses. There's an ATC, the full ATC, the ATC self-paced, and then there's the fundamentals. There's some aspect of repo that's available to all three of them. Anyone who takes the ATC self-paced or the ATC itself gets access to the whole fundamentals course because it's sort of no big deal, and it's stuff you should already know. There's lifetime access to the repos.
And the self-paced course is $1,700. Okay, no discounts on the self-paced. It's just a straight $1,700.
Is that available from the normal ATC website, or should I post the QuantSub link?
I think it's QuantSub.
Yeah, QuantSub.
So anything, so WBS training in Wisdom, in their Wisdom has WBS is for all live courses and QuantSub is for all pre-recorded courses.
So I think the main differences between these as well in terms of impact of knowledge acquisition and so on is that you are able to liaise with the faculty members when you're doing the full course. That's really the main thing. So for all of our courses, when you're doing the full course, we have a forum where you're able to not only liaise with the faculty, but also liaise with the other people from around the world who are doing the course. That is really exciting. So you can share latest news stories, you can share opinions, and it's a really good way of connecting and networking with one another.
Oh, yeah.
I think those are the main differences.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've benefited from that. I'll tell you, some of the quality of people in the course is very high. People, they're a range of people. So there's one of the oldest guys that was involved in the course was in China. And he'd been a U.S. Treasury bond trader for many, many years before he moved to China, and now he works at a bank. But people who really know their stuff, and there's a range because there's some who are just starting out, and they benefit a whole lot from talking to everyone. And I think that's really important. One of the challenges of working from home nowadays, or hybrid working, is that people don't interact nearly enough. So okay. John was asking about the book. I'd say we've delayed it, but basically what we started doing is we took our lecture notes and we've been writing them into complete sections, but we revising how we look at things as well. The important thing, and this is something that's not to be downplayed, is that there are lots of different approaches to quant finance, and people usually only talk about one, and we want to talk about the entire industry. So from high frequency, we don't spend as much time with high frequency, although we have a lot of resources available on it. But then mid frequency, we're actually forecasting prices, to lower frequency, where, for instance, you're trading, you're doing factor-based trading or trend following. There's the areas of stats arb, there's the areas of as I say, the CTAs out there, the QIS desks, the quant investment strategies desks, which are sort of a part of structuring that work in most of the banks, where they do they sell risk premia products. And that's actually where I started when I started. I mean, that's where I started. It's not where I started my career, but in 2013, I was on one of those desks, and I understood there's a lot more to this than just putting things together. And I started studying and putting everything together, and eventually teaching an algo trading course at UCL now. So I've been trading for teaching it since 2016. So several hundred students taking that course, as well as taking the various online courses.
Fantastic. All right. Listen, I think we're going to wrap up there. I think it's a really good place to wrap up. A lot of questions have been answered. Again, any questions popping up, send me an email or give me a call. And I just hope that you found this whole presentation and Q&A. I just hope it gives you a sense of what this is about and what you're getting yourself into if you do decide to enroll onto this course. In the meantime, look, enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you may be around the world. Thanks very much for attending. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you very soon.
Okay.
All the best.
Thanks very much, guys. Take care now.
Bye-bye.